Hey everybody, welcome to Between the Lines with Chris Curran. I'm your host, and tonight we speak with Brockton High and Stonehill College alum, 2004 and 2005 Division I football high school champion, father, husband, and host of the roughly related to Reselling podcast, my friend, Perry Phillips.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Yeah, man,
it.
what's going on?
How are you?
Good, good. I know we were kind of just talking to the last time that we caught up in person was at Richard Johnson's Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, a
It's
couple weeks, well, months ago now.
yeah. It's
It's
definitely
already flown by.
I know. I know.
The holidays have come and gone.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. It seems like you're waiting to get to that point and then it just flies.
Yeah,
You're like, "Yep," and then everyone gets sick.
yeah. And there
Yeah,
goes the weekends.
everything gone.
Yeah,
Holidays sick.
lost a lot, Enchanted Village. Have to wait till you're not sick.
All the good stuff. Yeah, yeah. It was good. It was good sitting at the table that we were at because we had sat next to each other, and you just get to sit next to all the guys that a good amount of the guys that you played high school football with, and some of them, geesh, I mean, I haven't seen some of them in 20 years. You
Right.
know, it's
Well, it's crazy because those guys were all, you and I were I think the only two of us that were '06, and most of those guys were '05, but they all still were cool with me and treated me like one of their own, because they were always a little older than me.
yeah,
So
they were older and we weren't exactly starters by I mean, I wasn't
I
really.
definitely was.
I wasn't either, man. I don't know if you count starting special teams like kick return, punt return
It
as a
is, dude, Matthew Slater.
yeah.
They named a play after you. You know what
If
I
you're
mean? Like,
but
if your
only
name is in one of the plays,
yeah.
I
I
think
got
it's
I got lucky with that one. I think PJ came up with that because it wasn't me who came up with the current special left. It was PJ's play. It was weird because I was talking to him and he told me that he brought it up to Colombo that he had been working on it like in the yard with his dad
yeah.
and
No,
brought it up. It's like, yeah, give it a shot.
it was only a play that would work with the two of you. Like you needed a good kicker. Like we were the only team with a kicker. I think we talked about that. Like we were the only team that you could be like, all right, let's kick a field goal, and you'd be like, oh, we're gonna get this field goal. You know what I mean? 30-yard, 40-yard field goal, and we're kicking field goals like consistently because we had PJ kick like just dominating as a kicker.
Yeah, it wasn't your
Um,
left guard who could kind of swing his foot.
no, yeah, and so that play, like that would only happen with you to like you could jump so high and he just hit that ball just the right way, and it was just a crazy play to watch. I remember watching it and just seeing that play. Like I think I was on in during that play. Like I think I was on the was it hands team.
Mhm.
I think I was on the hands team for that. I hated special teams, but I loved playing for that one play for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was quite the experience. I ended up because I had PJ on here and we were talking too. And for a kicker, he was tough as nails. He's not a soft kid by any nature if anyone knows him. He has a soft heart. He's a great guy, but he's tough. So Colombo would always put me and him in practice together because they're like, listen, neither one of you are tackling each other. Just go kick each other the ball. And then when Friday comes, just do both of your jobs. And I ended up talking to PJ and I'm like, dude, you're more likely to tackle someone at this point than me. You know? Oh man.
I sent my wife some kicker trying to make a tackle from over the weekend. He just gets rocked. He tries. It's not even a big guy he tries to tackle, but the dude just get off me.
I think
So those kickers, man, putting their bodies on the line sometimes.
yeah, especially because that's outside of their element. That's not something they're practicing.
Right? No, you don't do hitting drills.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That is tough. Uh, I always think about that senior year. I wish I had played, but you know, what are you gonna do?
It's just the way it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But
we didn't lose any games, so it wasn't like
I
it couldn't have
know,
helped that much more.
that's what kind of hurt my feelings. I'm like,
I'm
man,
trying to make you feel better.
I was like, I don't
You
think I
know,
did anything for this team. They actually got better without me.
I didn't lose any games.
I'm like, ref, come on, that's not a flag. Our guy's holding.
Yeah, I loved playing high school football, but like, it just got to a point. I played from the age of I think 10 till 17, when I finally stopped playing football, and like, it's just like we were talking, like it's, the summertime, it's just your summers are just dedicated to being in the sun. Well, I don't, they probably can't do two-a-days anymore, but like the two-a-days that we would have to do where you would be, practice in the morning, you'd have like a break to eat, and then you're just right back to practice until like, that was the end of your summer every summer. And,
Yeah.
I'm just not a serious person. And so like to dedicate that much time to something that I'm like, I'm not gonna go to the NFL, you know what I mean? I have eyes. I can see the size difference between me and other players. Like it's just not gonna happen. So
Yeah, and it is a lot of it's based on build, based on scheme, like what you have going on, who you are as a football player, and where it's, where things are going to line up. I mean, when I played in midgets for 7th and 8th grade, it was amazing because I played this safety slash linebacker. I wouldn't call it that, but it's just because we didn't really have a designated safety, it felt like. But I also played behind Junior Penn and Johnny Barnes.
yeah,
So not
the
many,
Bash brothers.
yeah, not many runners got past them. So once you couldn't really run the ball, you would see people bring out their 3 to 4 pass plays. And I'm like, this is my time. I would just run up and intercept everything I could. But when you get to high school, you start realizing everyone starts to get that big. And I was
Yeah,
like, I got to switch my game. I've never really done punt return, kick return, but I'm not tackling anyone really anymore.
right.
So game had to change. What did it look like for you? Like what was your main position or positions growing up, and then also maybe did you have to transition to a new position in high school?
So I always played like in midget football, I always played offensive and defensive line. Like I switched between that defensive end, linebacker. I played for East and we didn't win any games. So they just kind of were like, we were like the best on the team, me and like a few of my friends, but we weren't, that good. We just the one year we had Richie Johnson, and like I don't think he ever scored touchdowns just because we were that bad. Um, but then most of the offensive line, I think, ended up going on to become the offensive line that we won our senior year with.
Yeah.
So we had a good offensive line. I just never. They always wanted me to play offensive line, but I'm like 5'9", like 225 pounds at my, when I was at my biggest, trying to play football. And so I just wasn't. I wasn't a good offensive lineman. I would close my eyes all the time too. Like I don't, I remembered as I got older, I was like, I remember plays where I would like, I don't remember. I remember just like not being able to see for a minute and then realizing my eyes would close. So like for an offensive lineman, I just was not good. Um, but then I wanted to play fullback because Mike Allstott was like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
beast. So I wanted to play fullback. And so I remember them telling me I wasn't fast enough. And so that kind of like started like a competitive thing in me. I was very competitive about certain things. Um, and like I remember staying after practice to run hills to work on speed and like, doing just different things in the summer we pushed cars to work on speed, like just things to get faster so I could play fullback. And then I believe it was maybe my sophomore year. I went in and played fullback in a varsity game at like the very end, and Jesse handed it off to me. I got like a 12-yard run, and then I played in a JV game. I think the next week, and I just got somebody like fell on my ankle wrong, sprained my. They had a high ankle sprain. It was done for the year, and that was the end of playing fullback. So the next year I think I transitioned to defensive tackle, and yeah, I mean I was small for defensive tackle, but I did what I could to help the team, and always had that competitive thing. I goofed around a lot, I'm not gonna lie. I was very, very much unserious at the time, so about football especially.
I think I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I think they were
Like, why aren't they playing me more? And as I'm cracking jokes on the bench, while I'm supposed to be paying attention. That
yeah.
was me. Like, why I should be playing more as I'm, goofing off.
Well, that's what some of the guys would ask me too. Like, hey, why aren't you playing safety or corner? Why aren't you doing some of like the reverses as a wide receiver? And I always saw myself as a baseball player playing
Mm.
football, even
Right.
during football season. So it was kind of weird in many ways to wear the uniform and all that. I loved it. I loved the atmosphere, but it was kind of, I don't want to say a guest or a spectator, but I never fully embraced high school football after freshman year.
Mm.
Because
Right.
freshman year was very fun, and then a couple people moved up to varsity at the end and watched, but I was one of them. And just going into my sophomore year, I started getting a lot, like my freshman year of baseball, I made varsity as a freshman, and I just started to get better at baseball. So everything else was just kind of secondary from,
Right. So you
you know.
started playing baseball freshman year?
No, so I mean, I had played my entire life, and
Oh, okay.
I had originally played football for fun because my friends in North Junior High were like, "You won't go to tryouts, dude." Just like you're saying, I was a goofball. They're like, "You're
Right.
not gonna go. You're not gonna take it serious, and that's not a place you cannot take serious." I literally showed up at North Junior High football tryouts talking to Mike Williams, like, "Hey, can I play?" He's like, "What's your last name?" I'm like, "Curran." He's like, "Yeah, you can play," because
Do you
I had
remember that
a
there was a
roll.
kid who was so fast that he used to smoke cigarettes. He would like go to the tryouts and just he was crazy fast, and then he would just light up a cigarette like at the high school
For
at like right after it was at Brockton High. Yeah, I'm
our
pretty sure it was.
our age, right?
Yeah, our age. Yeah, he was fast,
Was he
super
was
fast.
he a Cape
They were
Verdean?
like, you I don't remember, but they were like, you can't play football. You're smoking cigarettes, dude. Like you can't you just would like do a full wind sprint and then be done and then just rip a heater right after.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what are you doing, man?
That is awesome.
Sorry, that just popped up in my head. I just
I remember there was this one kid that was really, really fast, but he never played. Now
yeah,
I thought, I'm like, why is he's really fast, and he always used to challenge me into running. And he wanted to like race at the end of practice. And he ended up like beating me in one of them. By the way, we're doing like 10 sprints. He ends up beating
right.
me in one of them. He's like, "I finally got you." And I remember Johnny Ray Barnes is like, "Dude, he plays offense and defense. Like, you sit the bench."
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
was like,
you
"Yeah,
can't run your mouth if you're not,
that is true. I'm doing wide receiver. I'm playing safety for the freshman team. I'm tired." And at the end of a 2-hour long practice, he's like, "Let's race." I'm like, "No."
Yeah, you can be crazy athletic and be terrible at football. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just you could just not be a football player, you know?
Do you remember, did you always have the same hitting partner?
Uh, I don't think so. I remember like if I wanted to, if I thought that somebody was getting more playing time than me, I would like try to pick that person and,
Mm,
just go hard, full face mask hit, you know, good
yeah.
CTE hit,
Well,
just,
well, that's why I asked, because you're actually big and strong.
yeah,
The reason why I ask, I hope this doesn't ruffle any feathers later on. It's like 22 years later. But me and Corey Brown used to pick each other because like he was actually a good wide receiver and I was a kick returner that wasn't gonna play.
right. You just didn't want
So
to hit,
so it wasn't fair if he was gonna be taking on like Nate Fallon.
Yeah,
You're gonna
yeah,
take on Mike Murray, you're gonna take on you, so you had to find someone who's similar to your size, and we were both fast and kind of give each other a look like, all right, when I gotta stand here and put my chin down, you better not hit me too hard.
just wrap it up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
nice form tackle, make it look convincing.
yeah, yeah, dive back a little bit, make it look good. But like he was a wide receiver, so I wasn't gonna get anything from hitting him hard. and I was the kick returner, and he wasn't really tackling everyone, so he wasn't.
Mm,
It was just kind of this like, all right, let's handle this portion, make sure we're not afraid to hit, and let's move
yeah.
on. Um,
Yeah, I remember people would call me out because I ran my mouth a lot. I've always just, that's what I do on the podcast. That's what I just, I run my mouth. And
hmm
so, people would call me out but I might not have hit harder than people, but when you're a kid, you just have to mentally be like, all right, I have to run through this
Yeah.
person or I'm going to get embarrassed and I'll
hmm
never hear the end of it. And so I was fueled mostly by other people's shame and just not wanting to be humiliated at that level. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that's awesome. See, the crazy thing is I was never afraid to hit. I loved that portion of it.
It wasn't my favorite,
Dude,
not gonna lie.
I was the biggest fan of Troy Polamalu, so I
Yeah,
absolutely loved hitting. The problem is everyone got so much bigger than me, so it didn't really matter how much I loved to hit because I'm going against people that were like you at 225 were 100 pounds heavier than me in high school.
yeah,
I was running around at like 120, 125.
right.
So that's where it got kind of tough. But in a lot of the drills, I would talk to some of the coaches, whether it was like Coach Roberts, um, and stuff like that. And I would mess with players when we did like the bag drills and you gotta like pick a hole to go through. I would
Hmm.
just call out the defense. Like I would try to call out Junior and Johnny and a bunch of those guys just because like I didn't care.
I think I did run Johnny over one time. He'd have to dispute that, but I'm pretty sure I did one time. I remember running my mouth about it and never giving him an opportunity to like make it right. I just was like, I'm not going to put myself in a position for you to run over me.
Well,
But
guess
I did it once to you, so
it's still true until he comes on and says something.
yeah. I'll take a lie detector too. I don't care.
That's awesome, man. Did you play any other sports growing up, or was it just football for you?
I played soccer for a long time. Eventually had to quit for football just because there was too much in high school. But I was pretty good. Like, I never wanted to go to the tryouts. Like, I always, for some reason, I just had it in my head that like it wasn't cool to play soccer. And so I was just like, I don't want to play soccer. It's not cool. And it was just all in my head. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was like I thought like, again, I say I don't care what people think, but it's apparently I did because I remember just it affecting me to be like I don't really want to play soccer anymore. I don't want to go to the tryouts. But when I played it, I had a blast. You know what I mean? But it was another one of those things where it's like I'm not gonna go pro with this. And it
Yeah.
was getting to a point where it's just how much of my time do I want to invest in this?
Yeah, it's crazy that that can hit you at different points and times in your life. So it actually helps you kind of focus on what you need to do. Sometimes, unfortunately, before you want to, because the dream is always great to have, right? Like, oh, I'm
Right.
going to go here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to play. I'm going to get my opportunity. And it just, that time comes for everybody. It
Right.
doesn't matter who you are. It's going to catch up,
Yeah.
you know.
Unless you really want to do that, it's you know,
And
if that's what
it's
you want to dedicate your life to, then
and it's
you know.
still so tough. I mean, because of health reasons for me, I think I hung up God, what I think I retired from I call it retired because I asked for my release, so I felt pretty good about calling it retirement, not being kicked out. It was kind of on my terms, so I retired.
Yeah,
You make that official call, "Hey, I retired," and they
you just put out a press statement, right? That makes it official.
that it's official, it's real.
Yeah,
So, I think I did that like 20 God, I was like 24, 25 years old. So, you
yeah,
start looking at it like you get a couple extra years, but
right.
it's, it'll catch up.
Yeah.
So, because I didn't play my senior year and you played senior year of football, did you get more playing time then? Did it still vary?
Yeah, I mean it varied. I had switched to defensive line, so I wasn't the head coach's favorite. I think Mosley. the D line coach was he saw the work that I put in, and so he gave me a chance on the D line. So he tried to put me in certain situations, and
Yeah.
um, it's just there's a lot of obviously politics that go with sports, and that was a big thing that I didn't like having to deal with. Like that was what gave me the most anxiety was just like having to play the game within the game.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just, I just, you know, my senior year I played enough to where I had a productive senior year. I enjoyed it, made a lot of memories. But that was the last year I played football. That was it. So
Did you go to did you go to college and try out, or
I
did you just go?
I'm pretty sure I went there. Like if I remember it correctly, I got a scholarship to go to Stonehill, but it was like an academic scholarship, and I was gonna play football, and I forget how it worked. I remember I showed up there to training camp, and I lived obviously a town over, and so I showed up to training camp, and this was like in high school, so I was right out of high school. I was working out all the time, so I walked in with like a wife beater, tan it was the G Unit beaters. You remember when you used to
Oh,
wear the two? You have
yeah.
to wear the white and the black, so you look big and jacked like 50. So I walked in wearing that, and I talked to the coach. The coach was kind of a jerk, uh, and I was like, I don't want to do this again. And he was like, oh, do you have your stuff to stay? Because you got to stay for training camp. I'm like, oh, I just live next door, like the town next door. I was just gonna plan on driving to camp. He's like, no, you got to stay. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home and get my stuff, and I never went back. So that was it. I was like, yeah, now I'm done. But then they got a new coach who was cool, so I might have liked it if I stuck around. But again, I didn't even I dropped out of school about a year or 2 years in. I say dropped out. I got kicked out. Um, but yeah, that's another story.
Yeah, for me, I dreaded the two-a-days at football. I went from really loving football to then realizing how much I was a baseball player.
Yeah, yeah,
So when it came to like the two-a-days, I was still doing summer stuff, but even the baseball guys that I played with, like Ryan Doherty and Curtis Ushery, and like those guys also played football. But I was like starting to do back end stuff my junior year. So it was
right.
like I was doing showcases and stuff like that. So then I would start showing up late for two-a-days. Like I showed
Mm,
up in like mid-August, and guys had already been going at it for 4 to 6 weeks.
right,
So it was always this weird terrain that I walked because like you're walking in there with people who have been paying the price for, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks to get ready for the season. But I was always in shape because I'm 120 pounds. You're never out of shape.
right.
And I was fast. So it always made it look like I was in better shape than what I really was. But it was like just coming over from baseball, like, yeah, I guess I'll play football. And I didn't want to do that to the guys in everyone's senior year where I'm
Right.
like, all right, I can't do like the half in, half out. And then every Friday and Saturday, I was flying out to go see schools.
Mm,
And
yeah, that's a lot.
that's September and October because you have to
Right.
sign by like,
Prime football season.
yeah, you have to sign, I think by it's either the beginning or like November 15th or something is when
Mm,
is technically early signing. I don't remember. It's, 20 years ago, but yeah, I just remember you guys playing certain games and I'm like, all right, going to Miami this weekend. So
yeah,
it's always tough, man.
it
That
is.
that
But
part's always tough.
you made the right decision, I'm sure.
It felt good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Probably less head injuries.
Less, yeah. Have you had any concussions?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I had one when I was young. You remember those big metal swing sets?
Yeah.
And there would be that one swing with like a metal bench. They
Hmm.
don't put them on there anymore. And so those would just, when you got those things going, they would be swinging hard. And I had a couple of friends on there, and I was running around it to try to get on, and it just came back and hit me right in the head. And I just woke up in the ambulance, and that was probably 5 or 6 or something like that. Like I didn't remember my name. I don't remember who like was with me. I had to go to the hospital. That was my first concussion. I'm sure I've had a couple more, but like
Yeah.
smaller ones. But
And
yeah,
I remember my first one freshman year. It's weird to say that I remember my concussion.
you do though.
There's a small window of what I don't remember. So I remember we were playing, I believe it was like the last game of the year. We were like 9-1 for our record at the time. I think we were playing like St. John's Prep. And I'm running back. I get an interception running back this way, and I turn around, and this kid nails me
Mm.
straight on. I get up, smack him in the ass. Hey, good hit, man. Run back to the sidelines. And now the offense is out there. I didn't play offense in games all that much for the freshman team, just random plays. So a couple minutes, it starts to kick in. And I look down at my jersey, and I'm like, who has my number? Because in midgets, I was number 21. Now I'm wearing number 22. And I'm like, who? And so I'm lost. I'm like, I don't know what number I am. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what's my phone number? What's my address? What's my name? And I just remember going through that entire process. And then we had to go back out on defense. And I'm the safety. So I'm lined up with the tight end. And I'm like, I hope they don't throw the tight end the ball. Because I got to hit the tight end because
Right.
it's my size. And I was like, yep, this is getting interesting for me. That's
Yeah.
kind of when I started to realize I like hitting, but these people are bigger than me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It was, and we didn't know, like, they tried to have safe hitting. So they're like, oh, you hit them like this so you don't break your neck. But like, nobody was ever like, you're gonna get CTE and mess up your brain.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because what
you
was that,
know,
2003 when we were doing that?
yeah,
No,
we
no.
used to hit face first. You know what I mean? In the hitting drills, it was just like hit face first, just smash them in the mouth.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
wanted to hear the two face masks hit.
Right.
That
You
was
want the paint chipped off of yours.
yeah,
I
that was
actually found a Brockton High football helmet at a yard sale. I had to buy it, so I bought it. It's sitting
what?
up over there. Yeah, it was like randomly, like 5 years ago, something like that. I was at a yard sale or flea market. I think it was East Bridgewater nearby, or maybe Abington. I can't remember. I randomly found it at a yard, like a flea market type yard sale thing. And of course I grabbed it. I had to grab that. It wasn't my number though. It was like a number 80. So I don't
Yeah,
remember
you
who
could
had
take
number
that
80, but
off. You
but
could
I
take
left it on because it's the only like boxer thing on there. So I left
ah,
the
yeah.
little number on. Well, actually, no, I could probably take that off, but whatever.
Yeah. Man, that ain't bad, man. That's cool. I know I don't really have much Brockton High stuff. Like I didn't have the money, so I missed out on the Letterman jacket situation that we were offered. I missed a lot of that stuff, man. I never got it, so I just went without. So the only thing I ever really had for the memories was that second to none football shirt, the
I
gray
still
one.
have those shirts. Yeah.
That's the only thing I have. I think I have the Super Bowl beanie that they
Yeah.
gave us, that black and red.
I don't think I have that one anymore.
I think that's all I had. And then with the ring we got my junior year. So like I told you, um, when did we get those? Probably in like March or something. March or
Something
April.
like that. Yeah.
Well, I was telling you beforehand that my godfather passed away in July of going into our senior year. Well, one thing I did is I took off my Super Bowl ring and I put it into his
Mm.
pocket when he was being buried. So I had that ring for 3-4 months. So when when you're there, everyone's like, yo, you still got the ring and stuff like that. I'm like, no, not really, you know. But the good news is, and I didn't play senior year, so I didn't get another ring, but I
Mm.
ended up winning a ring in 2010 with the Washington Nationals. So
Oh yeah, that's much
that
better.
that kind of, it was like, helping me out maybe, you know.
That's
But
much better.
yeah,
I
that,
have two of them, and I'd rather have a Washington Nationals World Series ring.
yeah, yeah, that one's pretty nice, man. It was some hard work, good times.
Yeah.
But I mean, so we talked about college and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask you this, like, when did you start Flips and Giggles?
So Flips and Giggles is my reselling LLC. Um, and I started it for shits and giggles, which is where the name comes from, Flips and Giggles. Uh, but so I bartended for a long time, worked bartending, and then wanted to change, so I switched and became a cell phone salesman. And I had a job at like probably one of the better jobs you can get without any college experience, like finishing college, basically. You know what I mean? Like best paying, best flexibility. It was a commission job. And when I started working there, the guy who hired me was like, ideally we want you working 3 to 4 days a week, making like $5,000 a week. And like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I was, working, I think 3 days a week. I was making probably like 4 grand a week. Um, and this was all commission. So, we're selling things, and it would always, I would sell phones mostly. And we were in order to hit different bonus levels and do all this other crazy stuff, you would have to sell like accessories. And
Mm,
where we were at, it was like all these old ladies, like they don't need this nonsense. You know what I mean? So I wasn't trying to pitch people these things that they weren't going to need. It was going to come back in the store. It was going to take me time to deal with. And so I got to that point at that job where I was just like, I don't want to do this job anymore. And this is one of the jobs that like I'm making the most money at. So my options aren't really that great if I leave this job. And I also don't want to work for anybody anymore. So I was like, I just knew that when I left this job, I didn't want to work for anybody. I wanted to basically be my own boss. And so I left, I think in 2019, I got fired for some nonsense reason they made up. And, but it was like one of those things, it was like I was kind of trying to get fired. Does that make
yeah,
sense? Not
yeah.
like,
You're on your way
I was
out
kind
to,
of over it. But
yeah.
I had a child on the way. Like it was a lot of things at once. And, so 2019, I was on unemployment. I'd never been on unemployment before. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this time. I have this money coming in. I'm gonna try to figure out what I want to do. So I got on YouTube and watched different things. And I had already been buying comic books while I was working at um, the cell phone place. And so I decided that, I would just start buying stuff to flip it on eBay, see how it went. And I started with stuff that I had in my house. We had some jewelry box that we found when we were moving from California, me and my wife. None of the roommates knew whose it was. It just had been in this house forever. So my wife had been there the longest, and we took it. And there was like some gold jewelry. So we sold like some jewelry right off the bat. And I kind of saw the potential, and started flipping stuff that started watching YouTube videos on things to buy, going to yard sales, flea markets, estate sales. And I've been doing that since 2019, steadily, and have not wanted to stop, and have only kind of gotten bigger.
Are there certain things that you look for? Well, I think about that too because it's very interesting. I love that whole concept of it too. Are there certain things that you typically target because of your own interest or just because you know you've had better luck selling them, say?
It's a combination of both. Obviously you want to sell things that you're excited about. I sell a lot of toys that we grew up on, and if I find like Street Sharks or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or anything fun that we grew up on, it's always, I kind of have to think about, do I want the money or do I want to keep this and let this sit on a shelf and collect dust? Most of the time it's I want the money. There's
Yeah.
a couple things that I'm like, if I ever find a My Pet Monster, that's gonna stay, because I've always wanted a My Pet Monster. I never had one, and that's just one of those things that I'm just like, I want that.
Yeah.
Um, So I do. I look for stuff that I like. I mean, video games are hugely popular, but then the competition for getting video games is going to be a lot more intense. The
Mm.
secret is kind of out about video games. So a lot of people, that used to just sell them at a yard sale will try to maybe put them on Facebook Marketplace for around what it goes for on eBay. So trying to find video games right now is tough. I might luck out into one huge score for the year, and if I'm lucky, but it's not something that I seek out anymore. I look for clothing. I sell a lot of vintage clothes. Um, I sell certain things that you just kind of learn that will sell fast. So there's things that, I know I can buy and I could turn around and put it on my eBay store and it'll be gone that day.
Oh
Um,
wow.
So there's, you just kind of learn, and it's a trial and error. So you can look everything up. You know what I mean? While you're out and looking for stuff, you can look every single item up. But once you start getting that knowledge, you don't really need to look every single thing up. And, it's almost like ruined. I did scratchers way back when, and I can't tell you the last time I've won on a scratcher, but I could take a $5 bill and go to a yard sale and like almost guarantee that at least if I go to 3 yard sales, I can guarantee that I'm going to get something that's going to sell for a decent amount at one of these for $5.
Mm.
It's just having the knowledge. It's not always a fun toy. Sometimes it's, a vintage uh, beauty supply or like just stuff, random stuff that you learn over time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely changed the market too. How much the internet and people, how much they use it, where you used to just put out a lot of old things just to try to sell it, and people have to comb through and try to find all of it. But like you said, now people are trying to put it on Facebook Marketplace, trying to get more money for it. So
Right.
it kind of makes you have to be a little bit more creative with what you're going to do, how you're going to buy it. Do you have certain things that you look for? Like, do you prefer yard sales? Do you go to certain areas?
So right now I'll take anything because it's, when wintertime there's nothing. It's,
Mhm.
there's occasionally estate sales. Um, Estate sales that are run by companies are tough because they look everything up. And when I say like, the people look stuff up, you're not really, in most situations, you're not trying to get over on somebody. And most times you go to a yard sale, somebody presents a value, you pay the value and you move on. Um, you know, a lot of times I try to be fair. If it's somebody that I think will have more items that I can buy from them, I try to give them a fair price because then they'll come back and see me. I had some lady who sold me a bunch of stuff cheap, and then the next time I went back to her, I gave her a little bit more money because she helped hooked me up the first time, and then she sent me other people with inventory for me, and so it's kind of word of mouth. I
Yeah.
like yard sales for the fact that you can get stuff cheap. That's like the purpose of yard sales is that people are trying to sell stuff cheap. That's, most of the time it's implied if you're having a yard sale, it's going to be cheap. And that's where I get a lot of my good deals.
Yeah. I love pulling up to random yard sales because my wife's not a big fan of it.
Oh, it's the best.
She's not a big fan of using other people's used stuff. Like, she's like, they don't want it. Why do you want it? And I'm like, I'm the person who doesn't want my own stuff, but
Right.
there's always something at a yard sale. I'm like, yeah, but what if they have baseball cards?
Yeah, yeah, I got a brand new leaf blower for like $10, brand new. What's that? I forget the name brand, but it was like a name brand leaf blower. I use it to blow the snow off my car now. Like it's a
Yeah,
two-in-one leaf blower, snow blower. You can get anything at a yard sale. You know what
that's
I mean?
awesome. Yeah, man. No, I love that portion of it. Me and my brother used to go all the time, and we used to like, dude, let's check out the coffee mugs.
Mm,
We're gonna go with mugs. So you can resell these mugs, and all the mugs I ever bought, like I have them in my office at work.
that was a big Gary V thing. I did mugs for a bit. I
Hmm.
what I found is that like when I watched videos, like a lot of resellers that are making videos online, a lot of them are making content. So they have to provide a certain amount of content. And so a lot of the stuff that they look up and that they buy, they also have, they're in a different area. They have different ways to sell it. So some
Mhm.
people do flea markets where they have their own booth. And so some of that stuff, you kind of have to take what they're buying into consideration. So not everything that they buy, just because it shows that it sells on eBay or whatnot or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna buy it and it's gonna sell immediately. So what
Yeah.
I've started to do is look more at like sell through rate. And so if there's an item that's, you know, listed on eBay 10 times and sold 20 times, obviously then the sell through rate is pretty good. So
Yeah.
I try to look for things that are going to sell quickly, and you could see all that. You could pull up all the, the information on eBay for how many times it's sold in the last few days, how many are listed, and you just kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's a great, like, source of information to be able to have that. Because my brother resells things as well, and that's always the question because it's weird. I like people, but I'm an introvert. I like the idea of selling things, but I don't wanna talk to people,
Mm,
but I'm in love with, like, the analytics of it. So for
yeah,
him, I'm like, "Alright, so if you go here and you pick up 10 screwdrivers and you're just trying to sell, flathead screwdrivers, what's your turnaround time? Like, how long does it sit? Like,
right,
how much room on a shelf does it take up in comparison to your time?" I'm the nerd that loves the analytics of that. The selling of it's whatever to me, but I'm like, what's your turn exactly what you're talking about, like, what's your turnaround time?
right.
If 20 of these were posted and 10 of them are selling in the first week, is that something that you see yourself targeting because it doesn't hold up that much shelf life, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I like that portion of it. Are there things that is there something that you've either gotten and you're like, "This is gonna sell," and it just never does? Or is there something that you're like, "I'm gonna get this at school. It might not sell, but it does sell typically faster than what you would assume?"
So, we started doing Whatnot, which is live auctions. And so Whatnot is a little bit different in terms of how I have to source items. And so like I'll pay anything as long as I think it's a good deal. Like if it's I just got a couple bins of Magic the Gathering cards for,
Mhm.
$50 for giant bin, probably thousands of cards, probably none worth a ton of money, but I can turn around and at least flip that for maybe double or triple my money easily, you
Yeah.
know, pretty quickly. So yeah, so if you could get like a good deal on stuff, have been known to get good deals. And there's also ways to get things for free. And so there was one time where I got for free, somebody had listed industrial sized water filters. Now they were like, there's like 8 boxes of these. So I was expecting them to be small. I'm like, oh, they're brand new industrial strength water filters. Like, there's definitely a need for this. It's free. Let's just do it. So I can barely fit all 8 boxes into my car. Like, I, it was a struggle. So they're long, probably 12. I'm terrible with numbers, but like 12 feet. I don't know. Is that huge?
12 feet, yeah.
Is that
Essentially bigger
huge?
than a
It was
basketball.
like, yeah, it was taller than maybe me. So they might
Yeah.
have, I forget. They were maybe 8 feet. They were long. And they were like wrapped in what looked like string, these long, almost PVC tubes. And I tried to sell them online on Marketplace. I tried to sell them on eBay. I tried to sell them. Uh, I tried to give them away for free. I tried to sell them at a yard sale. I couldn't get rid of these things. I finally had to take a sawzall and cut them up, and take them to the dump because they just would not sell. So
Oh,
you have misses, you know what I mean? That you do miss from time to time, but you got to try to hit more than you miss.
yeah.
So it does happen.
Do
I
you
thought for sure they would sell.
do you do more, like, pickup only for sales? Do you do a lot of, like, shipping?
So I ship for eBay, everything is shipping. Um, and then Whatnot, everything is shipping. And then we do Facebook Marketplace as well. And those are usually local pickup. I don't ship anything for Mark. So anything that I have that's big, that I think will sell locally, I'll put on Facebook. So typically Facebook isn't, it's not a regular, it was kind of a game changer for my business because before I started doing Whatnot, I would have, eBay does slow down if you're not consistent with it. So you kind of have to list daily, adjust your prices daily. Um, but the good thing about Facebook was there would be weeks where eBay might be slow, and then all of a sudden I'd have somebody come through with like $200 cash and buy something on Facebook. And
Mm.
so I started kind of figuring out what sold on Facebook and then what sold on eBay. And now I've got the third store, which is, I try to get as cheap as possible because we're starting everything at $1 right now just to build our audience. So it's like everything starts at $1 on that one, and the auction, and then it auctions off. So, $1 bid and up. So that's been we just started that in, I think, August or November of last year.
And that one's on Whatnot,
Whatnot, that's
right?
its own app. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's live streaming. And that's where I think the future is going. That company's blown up since I think they just started in 2019 or 2020. And, obviously the pandemic helped. Everybody was home buying stuff, but they just have blown up to like, I think $5 billion is what they were evaluated at in like
Wow.
2025. And that's just from 2020. And so like, it's only going to get bigger. And so, we're trying to get in right at it's still pretty early. You know what I mean? It's like getting in early at any stage of anything. And
Yeah.
so we've just been consistent with doing auctions every week. We didn't do auctions the last 2 weeks. We did just giveaways, and we made sure we jumped on just to say hi to everybody. We did one on Christmas Eve and one on New Year's Eve. So we took about 2 weeks off from actually doing shows. And then we got our first one back on Wednesday. So it's going to
That's
be good to
pretty
get back
cool.
into that. Yeah, so we got to do, different shows every week, which is it's a lot, but eventually we'll probably do multiple shows a week. But the ceiling is crazy.
Hmm.
We can only go as high as we want to.
Yeah.
We're kind of in control of how much money we can make and all that stuff. So I think it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you kind of allocate your time in certain areas to certain platforms more? Like were you okay, 75% of my time is eBay, um, you know, 25% of my time is Facebook, and then Whatnot comes on, or Whatnot versus Facebook. Did you find that there was a shift in you like, I'm going to start putting more energy here? Or do you have, say you have, a baseball card, are you putting that on all three, and whatever sells first, you're pulling it from the other two, essentially? Or,
So when I first started, it was eBay was the first one, and just kind of did that until I figured out that I could do Facebook. But right now, I think that eBay takes up most of my time just because you have to take pictures, clean certain stuff, uh,
Mhm.
make sure you take detailed pictures, and then you got to do research, figure out how much it sells for that, and the other. And then once you get that done, then you have to put the pictures up in the listing, put the listing up. So it's like, there's a lot of steps to just getting something listed. It's not once you get going with it, it's pretty easy and you have your own way of doing it. So we started Whatnot because with Whatnot it's easy. You don't have to take pictures. So I could do one listing and make it for 50 items as long as they all weigh the same and then just put like a random name. So I don't have to take pictures of everything. Sometimes we do if there's, everything's a different weight. We'll do that for a lot of plush sales. We'll do that for, but for the most part, with Whatnot, we're not taking any pictures. We're not doing any listings. I might throw a couple higher end items in the store for that show. So if people want to buy them, they can buy them. But most of the auctions, we start at $1 and then go up from there.
Are there any are there any items that you go on Whatnot and you're like, this one's gonna make a killing, and you end up selling it like way under what you anticipated.
Yeah, you kind of get, you get people in, you're having fun, and people are talking because you got to host a show at the same time as you're selling stuff. So that was never like something I felt comfortable doing. Obviously, I do the podcast, but I just talk for an hour. It's a lot different than having to keep people engaged and, talking. You're talking to people who are chatting down amongst each other. So you're trying to see that's going on. You're trying to see what your moderator's doing. So my wife is the moderator, and so she's kind of learning as she's going. Um, so it's just a lot to kind of
Th That's a
keep
lot of
track of.
things flying
You know
all at
what I
once. You're, like,
mean?
trying to check the chat, trying to
And
so
so you're like, you get caught up in it, and you're like, all right, this item's definitely gonna sell. And so you like throw it in and it sells for a couple bucks. And that's how a lot of them, some stuff sells for a lot more. We sold some stuff on Whatnot that we were like, oh wow, that sold for way more than it's been up on eBay for. But for the most part, I'm right now I'm prepared to like lose money on Whatnot. We do a lot of giveaways. There's certain shows that will make a good amount on Whatnot, but for right now, I'm just if I can get stuff cheap enough, I'll do it for $1. And my mom just passed away, and so we have a ton of her stuff. So we're gonna be I have a few shows where we're gonna go through her estate and just try to sell that stuff as do an estate sale like that for the
yeah,
smaller stuff and just try to blow through it. So there's it's a different mindset. You have to go into it like I might lose money on something. I remember being really disappointed because I had a Jay and Silent Bob T-shirt, like the Snoochie Boochies one,
yeah.
and it only sold for a couple bucks. And I was like, man, come on, like this is
I
at
gotta
least a $10 shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
do I really
so,
have to can I cancel that?
yeah. So it happens, but I eBay is where I put most of the stuff that I don't want to lose money on, and it's been pretty consistent. Even, I haven't really been listing. I had planned on taking the last couple weeks off as it was,
Mhm.
just because it's the end of the year. I've been working like the whole of November. November is probably my craziest time of the year. I just am constantly listing because that's when people are buying for Christmas and Black Friday,
Mhm.
end of the year. So at the end of the year, I try to take a couple weeks to kind of chill and play video games and do whatever till I have to start it all over again.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I'd already planned on chilling out, but yeah, for the most part, it's I love doing it. It's
yeah,
I've never had a job like this where I'm like I loved I don't dread setting my alarm. I love getting up early to go to yard sales, estate sales, and yeah.
is do you look I don't wanna give away too many of your secrets, but, like, is there and you can just be yes and very vague with it, but are there certain alright, so Perry wakes up in the morning, he starts his day, he's starting to say, I have to check this website, this app, I gotta do this, just to then find out to say what's on sale and where can I get it, right? Is there like a network that you tap into? Are there things you're checking?
So with reselling, here's the thing. You could do uh there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Like you don't have to do the route that I did. There's Amazon FBA, which is you can go basically shopping at places like Walmart and you can buy X amount of items and then you send those items to Amazon just in like one big shipment and then they just handle everything. You don't have to do anything. They handle all that stuff. So there's Amazon FBA and there's apps. I forget what the app is called, but it's an app that you can use in your everyday life. It's like a retail app. I think it's no, that's not it. That was a coupon one. I can't remember what it's called, but it basically will tell you the deals that each store has, like the stuff that's marked down, and it
Mm,
just all goes right to your phone. I think it's a monthly subscription, and you could go to again Walmart and places like Target. And you can shop clearance items that sell for X amount there, and then turn around and bring it to another market, and then it sells for double that or
yeah.
however much. So there's different ways that you can do it. You don't have to go to yard sales. Some people go to auctions. Some people go to like do storage units. I'm bidding on a storage unit right now. I actually just got outbid. So I'm gonna bid on it. It doesn't end till tomorrow, but so
Mm.
I bid on storage units. I bought a storage unit a couple weeks ago. It was empty. Paid $350 for empty bins. So that one stung. That sucked. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I
man.
said you miss sometimes, but like I can count on one hand, I think the times that I've missed. So it's,
You
I'm
think
very
they
fortunate.
you think they would do a little bit of recon to say, "Are we gonna sell this to fool someone?" Like, they have to go in there and are they opening it and looking at it?
See, this one was kind of sketchy because it was on a website. I called, you got to call afterwards to make a plan to come in. So I came right over, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I usually look in the bins to see what's in them, but this time I didn't do that at all." I was like, "All right, that was kind of weird." And then he starts walking me over to the units, and he's telling me about how they've have issues with theft and like people trying to break in. I'm like, "All right, that's kind of weird." And he opens the unit and takes off. And as soon as I touched the first bin, I knew it was empty, and I'm like, they're all going to be empty. And sure enough, they were all empty. Um, there's 5 bins. I shouldn't have paid that much. It was dumb. Like it was again another moment where you get caught up. Um, and this time of year, this only happens this time of year. When I have yard sales, I do not. I don't. I could care less about storage units, but this time of year, you're just like, I need inventory. Even though I have a ton of inventory,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I need inventory. I need inventory. So it does kind of get to a point where, you can get overwhelmed with trying to find stuff. And you got to kind of take a step back because you can make mistakes like that and spend 350 plus tax. So it was over $400 for 5 empty bins. And they weren't even Costco brand. They were like the crappy Walmart brand or something. So
So you resell those, you make $30 and you're like,
yeah,
"All right."
yeah. I think my wife already claimed most of them. She's like, I need bins for this, that, and the other. I'm like, all right, well, there goes that any profit. But it's the end of the year, so I can write it off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that there's gonna be some hit and misses
Yeah.
out
Can I
there.
tell you about the rat horde real quick?
Please do, because that
So,
sounds crazy.
so I got a unit. I think I paid $10 maybe, or maybe $100. I can't remember. I think it was maybe $10, and then the deposit was $100. And so this unit was packed, and the guy brings me down, and as soon as he opens this unit, the smell hits me. I'm like, this smell is coming from this unit, and it's like not anything I've ever smelled before. So he does whatever, leaves. I start going through stuff. I found some brand new tools, found a safe. I found some good stuff. It ended up being a really good unit, but it was absolutely disgusting inside. Like the atmosphere changed when I went inside, and I could see there was obviously clearly like rodents living there. And so I had a mask on, gloves, all that stuff. So I left. I brought one round of stuff down. I grabbed whatever that I could salvage, and then I realized that the entire wall of boxes is all food. So somebody had just been storing food in there on top of all the other stuff. So there was good stuff in there, but they had the food, which literally turned this into like a rat horde. Like there was a whole it was ecosystem in there. Like it was another ecosystem. There's little bugs flying around. So I go back the next day, and as soon as I walked into the storage unit facility, I could smell that unit, and I knew it was that unit. I'm like, I know that it was stuck, like the smell stuck in my nostrils. It was disgusting. So I grabbed a couple more things out, and I called them up, and I said, "Listen, I can't finish cleaning out this unit. Um, you could keep my deposit, but you guys are going to need like a full hazmat team, and it's probably affecting the other people around you, like that are around that unit. Like, there's no way it just stayed in that unit." And so he ended up refunding me all my money. He didn't charge me for the thing, and he let me keep everything that was in the unit. So I ended up making like $1,000 off that unit.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
took a couple years off my life, but you know, I'd say it
Oh.
was worth it.
Oh, see, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I have allergies. I
Yeah,
just
no,
walk
it was
in
it
there,
was a it was
no
a tough one. I couldn't do it. I had to stop.
And
So you do get in some situations that are pretty nasty, but like some of the stuff you find in those situations, you know what I mean? Like I found a bunch of band t-shirts in a hoarder house, like, just old band t-shirts, and those you just wash them out and they're good as new. So,
yeah.
but
Any
you
other
do
like
find some gross stuff.
any like interesting things that you found in there that like maybe kind of surprising, like cool, like you open this up and it's, collectibles or old coins.
I just found those Magic the Gathering cards I got. I was going through them and I stuck my hand in, I pulled out just a stack of Pokemon cards, and it was the Pokemon like the tops Pokemon cards. Um, and so there was a ton of them in there. I thought it was all Magic the Gathering, and it was like a ton of the Pokemon cards. It was some of the plastic, like the cello wrap. I forget what they call them, the cellophane wrappers, um,
Mm,
from the first set of Pokemon. So those were in there too. So that was just like something I wasn't expecting that,
that's
I
cool.
could sell for a few bucks, but it was just random. I found it. Um, and then one of the most unexpected things I sold. So we were on the way back from every year we take a family trip up to Maine, and we do all the thrift and stuff and everything so we can write it off. So as we were driving back, my wife, she was like, "Do you want to stop in this thrift store?" And before I could answer, she just pulled in. So we go in and I look around. There's not much at this thrift store, but upstairs they had stuffed animals, five for $1. So I paid 20 cents each for five stuffed animals, and then brought those back home. Didn't think anything of them. And then I started, looking one of them up, and all I could find was that they up like an accessory sold for 150 bucks. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna start the auction at 150 on eBay and then see where it goes, because this accessory for this doll sold for 150. So that'll be my jumping off point. So I posted it, and within 2 minutes of me posting it, somebody reached out and they said, "Hey, would you take 600 bucks right now?" And so I was like, no, it was 2 minutes of it going on it. And then within like another minute, I had a bid and it went up to, I think I sold it for $1,275 for a 20-cent stuffed animal. So that was the craziest one. Um,
Wow.
yeah. I don't know if I should say it or not. No, I'll say it because they're so rare. It's a baby alien belonging to you was the name of the toy line. And it was like a random line from the 80s. Only made 1 year, I think. Super ugly, but 20 cents into 12.75. So that was the craziest.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that happens occasionally. I mean, that's obviously doesn't happen all the time. It's a grind. But when that happens, obviously, because that paid for our whole trip, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah,
That's a crazy turnaround right there.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
But
So
it's
with
only this job that you could do it that.
yeah, that's the complete highs and the lows. You never know what's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, you go
You're
from feeling
gonna
like
fight.
the biggest piece of shit. Can I swear? Or
You can, yeah, yeah.
okay. You go from feeling like the biggest piece of shit one day, you're like, I suck at this job, I need to get a real job, to like the next day being like, I'm the fucking man. I could do no wrong. So like you got to kind of check yourself a little bit and like, you know,
Try to
it
balance.
is. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of balance.
That's funny, man. Yeah, because that's even just on Facebook Marketplace, like if I'm going to buy something, I'm like, hey, I'll buy it. I usually just do quick pickups, anything that's local. Like I was looking for a desk for podcasting.
Mm,
Something like that. I was like, I'll find something local. This will be awesome. And it actually worked out. The guy was awesome. That was perfectly fine. But before then, I'm like trying to buy a shelf and you just couldn't even get people to sell it.
yeah,
I'm like, no, listen, I live 3 minutes down the street from you. You're asking for $40. I have $40 cash. What time do you want me there? I can be there anytime from now, all day, whatever it is. And you just get ghosted.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to buy it.
Yeah. It
You
makes no sense.
Usually it's people don't show up when they wanna buy it. I'm like,
Right.
I can buy it any day this week. When's it available? I'm like,
Well, the
"Alright."
problem is that like, they have other people that reach out, but they
Mhm.
just all you have to say is sorry, it's sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing on marketplace.
Yeah.
It's not some of the people you meet are really cool. It's mostly a lot of boomers is what I've noticed. Like it's a lot of boomers that use Facebook Marketplace. You can
Mm.
kind of tell the way they talk and text and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I usually meet people like right up the street, and it's not I couldn't survive off Facebook Marketplace, but it's one of those. It's nice when it does kind of pan out, but it can be a pain in the ass dealing with the people that are on there, because they'll no show for any reason. They ask a bunch of questions. You're like, all right, and then you reply, and then they just gone. You're like, all right, we just had a whole conversation, and now you're gone. So.
Just told me about your kids and everything. I got invested in now. Never gonna I think you just wanted someone to talk to.
Yeah, yeah. You do get some interesting people on there, but yeah, for the most part, you're like, there's some people I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna have you come to my house, but sometimes I'm just like, just come to the house. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Now, this led into the podcast?
yeah, so I
How
mean, I started podcasting prior to that, like 2018 to like 2019 or something like that, or maybe yeah, something right before the pandemic happened. And so then it turned into every podcast was kind of what you're doing right now. It's just like interviewing people, but it was at a time when it was just exploding, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so trying to get guests was really tough. And, it's cooled off obviously since then. So I just stopped doing that type of podcast. Um, and, I was going to try to do a podcast with somebody else. And then I just, I thought it would be easier if I just do it by myself. And so this one, I just talk for an hour about my week in reselling, um, being a stay-at-home dad, just kind of surviving the week, and what I did to either get inventory or what I sold or just crazy interactions I had with people that week. I just, I kind of do like a weekly recap. Kind of helps me to see, keep myself in check, to see where I'm at each week. Um, and yeah, it's audio only right now, but eventually going to move to video. And I just talk for an hour and just, I get sidetracked. So I'm a pothead, and, I just forget what I'm talking about. And so I had to stop smoking before I did my podcast, because I would just sit there and be like, what was I talking about? So yeah, I wait till after now, and I smoke after.
You're 50 minutes in, you're like, "Ah, I didn't hit record."
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just sitting here talking to the water bottle.
Yeah, but it's crazy because it was like a learned thing, and I didn't really promote it, because I knew I was gonna suck at it for a long time, even though I'd done a podcast previously. It's a little different when I had a co-host. I did two podcasts. One I did with a co-host, and so that was in person, and we just bullshit for an hour, 2 hours, and then the other I would interview people online. And so, both of those were with other people. This is the first time I had to talk for an hour. And if you just blow through a subject, I've write down 5 or 6 bullet points of what I want to hit that week. And, you can blow through those in 15 minutes if you're not, kind of going in depth. So it was I had to learn how to podcast like that, and how to almost over elaborate. So I
Oh, yeah.
apologize if I'm doing that right now, but
No, as you know from a podcast host, it's awesome.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I always tell people too, like, it's not about the questions that I'll ask, it's about how you're gonna tell your story. Because I
Right.
feel like sometimes if I ask certain questions, I don't wanna that's why I'll over elaborate on some of the questions, because I'm like, if I ask it this way, I might only get this answer. But if I ask it this way, it gives me this answer. So then you're trying to be careful with how you're asking the questions, because I can ask you something and it turns into a two-sentence answer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ah, that it could have been a 20-minute conversation if it was asked the right way. So
Right.
I've had to work on that as well. And I told you I'm kind of an introvert. So I've spent a lot of time avoiding people, not asking them all these questions. But with people like you, and we've talked about someone like a PJ Bronco that are just people that you really enjoy talking to and have such a background with that you want to talk to people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, eventually I want to do, podcast. I'm thinking about doing a Patreon and, because I have fun podcasting with my wife. Occasionally we'll do a podcast together. But I want to put all my guest episodes behind a paywall. So, it's not the same podcast essentially, but I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I've been doing this one about 2 years. It was crazy because in your questions, you sent the questions over to me. And one of the questions was like, you've been doing a podcast for almost a decade. And I was like, no, it hasn't been that long. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh man, it has almost been 10 years of podcasting. So, I mean,
yeah,
with a little bit of a break, but
in the podcasts they change too. And that was one of the things that you start looking up in because yeah, you're like, how to start a podcast. What are certain things? And you'll see like, here's the 10 things you got to know. And they're like, don't get totally stuck to the title. Your title can change, your podcast can change, your guests, the people you're talking to, all of that can change. And it was like good to hear that too, because you never know what you're going to have. When I talk to people about this, I'm like, yeah, it's called Between the Lines. I'm talking to like special needs teachers and therapists, and they're like, are you sure you're looking for me? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm finding people that I have an interest in what they're doing.
right.
'Cause selfishly, I get to learn from you and your business model. And you've done podcasting in different formats and settings over the past decade. You've been selling things and flipping them and learning different systems over the past decade at this point in time. So that stuff's interesting to hear because it can apply to so many different facets of life,
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
How did you find, without it being a knock to anybody, do you prefer now with the experience you have of doing a podcast on your own? Do you prefer doing it on your own? Do you see yourself in the future doing it with another host again?
Uh, so I enjoy doing podcasts with another host for sure. It's just at the time, you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was just we were just doing a podcast. I had money from that job that I had that I was only working like 3 or 4 days a week. And I was like, oh, I could just do a podcast just for fun. And so at the time nobody was really taking it as serious as I was. And I didn't expect
Yep.
them to, obviously. And so it was kind of hard to set times every week to meet to do a podcast. And so I like the fact that I can just set up whenever I have time and just record and do it, when I'm ready to. It is fun to do the podcast with somebody else. And so, eventually I would do, like I said, I'll do them for the Patreon eventually. That's, down the line. And I also wanted to do another reselling podcast, um, behind a paywall as well, but it's going to be have people write in their like their stories of like when did you just either miss out on an item because you'll walk up to a yard sale sometimes and somebody will have the item that you're like, oh man, that would have just made my weekend.
Yeah.
So I want to do it's the name of the show will be Hindsight, a reselling podcast, and it'll be like the times that you like either missed out on a crazy item, made the wrong decision and bid on a storage unit that had empty bins, something like that, and then do where we vote on whose is the most painful. So
Mm.
that's an idea that I have that I want to do eventually with a co-host, and I think my wife is who I would probably have do that one, and that'll be behind a paywall because she has like a job that you know, we don't
Yeah.
want her to get in trouble for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because even with this too, I've began doing it. I haven't launched any of them yet, but it's also so I announced this as a podcast and a short clip series.
Hmm.
Not everyone like you're, not everyone's like you, where I can sit and just talk for an hour, hour and a half, whatever that time frame is. There are people who wanna come on and just tell a story. There are people who are gonna be good for 10 to 20 minutes, and that's kind of their little cookie cutter spot. People who have kids that are like, "Listen, man, I got dinner coming in 30 minutes, but I want to do this," and it was kind of opening up a platform and a place for them to kinda tell a story or just to talk about, "Let's talk about high school football. Let's talk about high school baseball. What was your
Right.
college baseball experience like in comparison to mine? I went to Miami, you went to California. Let's converse." Stuff like that. And right now I'm working with one of my old business partners for baseball and talking to our old players because we had some of these kids when they were 8 and 9 years old, and now they're in college.
Right.
So then the idea was like working with him on, hey, me and you will do this and we'll pick a different guest every Friday or every Saturday, whatever it is. We'll designate a day and we'll just talk to that player for 20, 30 minutes, chop it up, have a short clip
Right.
series, and be able to launch those every Saturday because it takes less editing. They're not waiting for that episode to come out because it's so
Right.
short. It's like one of the things right now is you'll do the podcast, and we talked about this before. You are now like the producer, the editor, the host, the scouting agent, like
Yeah. Marketer.
marketer. You're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
So now there are platforms where you can do it, but I
Financier.
financier, you know, light technician. Yeah,
Light guy.
yeah, light guy. Yeah, you're doing all that. And Riverside itself, they'll do like a magic edit of this,
Right.
but sometimes they'll cut out the pauses.
Mm.
And sometimes the pauses are what help or make or break the statement that someone's offering. So I'll do a lot of the editings myself, and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Some of the
It's a
stuff
lot of
takes
work.
time.
I
So
just do the audio right now, and that's even. I mean, I got it down now, but it was a process at first.
yeah. Yeah,
So
and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you. I didn't want it to be taken the wrong way from anyone that you used to maybe co-host with, but only because now you have the experience of doing it individually where you can do it on your time.
yeah.
Because I wanted to ask your perspective on that is because I know other people that host podcasts that have co-hosts. So
Mm.
now they have to line up 2 to 3 different schedules, who gets to ask what question, does anyone feel like they're not being heard of as much? Or
Right.
someone not taking it as serious as the other person? I've only done this myself, so,
Yeah.
um,
It's
I
if you have, somebody who's committed to spending the time to do it. And again, it's, when I first started a podcast, it was my thing that I was asking people that I worked with that I, thought we could do a cool podcast together. Um, and so, asking them to do your podcast and expecting them to have the same, expectations of time and energy and all the stuff that goes to doing a podcast, is unrealistic. But if you find somebody that's like, I want to do a podcast, let's make this happen, let's figure this out, then I think it would be obviously a little bit different. But just at the time, too, the podcast wasn't attached to anything. Now it's attached to the business, and we do shows every week on Whatnot, and so that's just going to keep growing, and we direct people from there. I sponsor my own giveaways at for the Whatnot now, so we'll do giveaways throughout the show, and they're all sponsored by the Roughly Related to Reselling podcast. I send out stickers now with the logo for the business and the logo for uh, the podcast. um, so yeah, it's doing it by yourself is obviously a lot of work. But sometimes it's just more convenient, especially right now. I would love to have like a producer, but I don't think they're coming.
yeah, I don't think anyone's knocking on my door tomorrow. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I like it. I like that it's small. I like that I'm not doing it outside of my element. I can
Mm,
talk to the people that I wanna talk to. I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is, like,
right.
you get to choose the guests. You get to discuss the questions and just kind of make it your own thing.
Right. Sorry. Oh man, I'm so over being sick. I know we talked about it a little bit. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I'm just ready for the summer.
Yeah, it is for real. I know. I know. We actually got snow like this December and January, which has been weird.
Yeah, I know my kids were pumped at first, and the last two times it snowed. I think the first time it snowed two times since, and the first time they're all about going outside, and yeah, the last two times they're like, no. I have two girls, so they're like, no, they're cold like their mom. They're like, no, no, I'm not going outside. I'm like, all right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that was the next question I was gonna ask, that you're a father of 2, 2
yes,
girls. Like,
yes, staying
you're
home dad.
and you're outnumbered
Yeah,
by ladies.
yes.
How are the dynamics in the house? Do they get along? Is that
For
are
the
they
most, I mean, for the most part, they get along. They're 3 and 5. Um, the older one is in school, preschool, or not preschool, kindergarten now. The younger one is going to be starting preschool in the fall, just where her birthday fits.
yeah.
Um, they love hanging out together. They fight as much as I'm sure sisters do. But the last couple weeks they were home for vacation. They played together. They had all their new stuff and they just played. It's freezing out. And that's the other thing, getting over being sick. So one, we didn't want to go out and get other people sick, and then two, we didn't want to go out and then re-get sick right as we're getting better. So I was kind of like, let's just stay home. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just rest. And so they were really good about playing together for the last few weeks, even though we really didn't leave the house too much. I mean, we went out to a couple things, but for the most part, they get along. And the older one is she was uh, she was obviously our first, and she's more like, you know she doesn't like to get in trouble, and the younger one is like, I don't care what you tell me, like I'm gonna do what I want, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting kind of dynamic between the two.
Yeah, it's typically how it's been known is that the second born is like, whatever, off the rails a little.
Yeah, yeah, she's, yeah, 100% off the rails. But she's like, obviously kids go through milestones, and um
Mhm.
I'm not worried about her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm like, I'm like, I know she'll be just fine. I kind of feel like they're gonna be, because they're gonna be so close in age that she'll be the one to protect her older sister. You know what I
Yep.
mean? My older one is a little bit more sensitive. The younger one just will fall and just, she'll eat those all day. She'll run into things. She's out constantly just banging her face into stuff. And the older one, she'll fall down and start crying immediately. And, so it's just a different dynamic,
Yeah,
you
your
know.
younger one might be the football player.
She might, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
She's kind of built like a little linebacker too.
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you this too. It's more of like as you talk about your kids and as you become a dad, sometimes that it definitely can change you, right? It taps into different emotional protective area that you would have. Like what's something that you would like, what's a message you would like to leave your kids? Something that maybe you get to tell them every day, maybe you hope that they watch this in 20 years and see what's something you would like them to take away from it.
Whew. Uh, I, I don't know. I just want my kids to be happy. I don't know. I don't like to ask them like, oh, what are you gonna do when you grow up? Because like I didn't know until I was, you know, in my 20s, 30s, whenever.
Yeah.
Um, and most of the jobs that we're gonna be like, what do you want to do, are gonna be taken by AIs. So like, yeah, what am I setting them up for? I don't know. It's hard for me to like leave a message for my kids. I try to. I try to spend as much time with them as possible. I try to, try to just be better. If I felt like I was a shitty dad one day, I try to, be a better dad the next day and not just like kind of dwell in the shittiness. You know what I mean? Because,
Yeah.
you kind of, there's certain days you're like, man, I just did not have a good day as a parent yesterday. And like the day starts with me. And so you
Mhm.
just got to kind of like reset your mind and be like, all right, I set the tone for the day. They're children. You know, I had a bad day yesterday. Have a better day today. I don't know if that's a message for my kids, but
No, what I
I'm
mean,
not perfect.
no, and essentially that's what it is too. It's not going to be perfect, but if you get another day to kind of reset yourself and you can try to right some of the wrongs or make better some of the things you didn't get to make your best yesterday,
Yeah,
that's going to happen. I know it's so tough too because when you're younger, you tend to look at your parents like they got it figured out.
right,
Right? Because when we were younger, you look at your parents like, I don't know, they're going to have the answers. It may not always be the answer you want, but
right.
it's just this level of adulthood and confidence that parents or adults typically have, and then you get to that age and you're like, "I don't know.
Yeah,
What's this answer, Dad? I don't know." I
yeah.
can't tell
I
you.
don't know. I have no idea. Ask me tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll be
exactly.
better tomorrow. I promise.
Yeah. We both lost today, kid.
Yeah. So like anytime like if my kids do something like, knuckleheaded or, they don't make the best choice, I'll say, try to make a better choice next time. But I say that to myself too,
Yeah.
make better choices as far as like how you talk to your kids and how you treat your kids. And yeah,
Yeah, it's
try.
important. It's important to remember or trying to do your best to remember what it's actually like to be a kid.
Right.
I know it's so easy to see kind of the you and your kids and get frustrated at times like, "Hey, I'm telling you not to do this, don't do it." Not realizing that in that moment that they're supposed to agitate, they're supposed to
Right.
test the limits, they're supposed to ask you the same question 5 times in a row
Right.
type of thing, like, they're kids, that's what they're definitely supposed to do. And sometimes we want them to be adults because it can be easier for us, like,
Yeah.
"Why
Yeah.
can't you just do this? Because I told you to do this, but I don't have to tell you to do it anymore." You know? It definitely teaches you this different level of patience.
Yeah, for
It's and you
sure.
have and you have 2,
Yeah.
and you have 2, so, with 2 different personalities, I'm sure, and yeah, those would be some interesting times over there.
Yeah, it was all female. And my mom, up until recently, she passed away, but it was, she was her on the same property, my wife and my two girls. So I was just fighting for my life over here. You know what I mean?
You're like, "Advice? I'm just trying to survive."
Yeah, survive at all costs. That's my advice.
Oh, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, I love it. I'm very lucky. I raised both my kids since they were young. You kind of learn, like you said, you have to learn patience. You have to, when you first have kids, you have a lot of time. Like your concept of time changes because you're like, oh, like I just have X amount of hours in the day to do this and to bullshit and do whatever. And then when you have kids, you're like, okay, well, like now I have X amount of hours in the day. That time is just shortened by a lot. So you have to prioritize, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and so certain things start to go away, and you like it's easier to be not like selfish. What's the word? It's easier to prioritize, time with your kids if you're, I don't know where I was going with that. Um,
No, like, no, yeah,
I lost my train, but
I
you know what I'm trying to say?
I
Like
know
it's
exactly what you're saying.
yeah.
You have to have things a little more coordinated now.
You start being better about
Time
being
management.
okay with your time being going. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that time's not mine anymore. Essentially, is what I was
Yeah.
trying to say. You kind
I
of become okay with it.
I started thinking about it too because I'll talk to guys at work, or I'll talk to buddies and stuff. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just decided to take a drive and just go here, or this weekend I might go check this out." And I'm like, "You don't have kids."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
once you have kids, you don't just up and leave and
Yeah.
go to the county fair on the other side of the
Right.
state because they serve a really good fried dough.
Right.
I'm like, all right, you can but you forget that that's some of the capabilities that you used to have prior to kids, or prior to relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have a lot more time. And that's the one thing I know I noticed that changes, like your concept of time obviously changes. And then when you have to do things for your kid, like I remember like a year or 2 years ago, my daughter got invited to a birthday party and my wife had to work. And so I had to go take her to this birthday party, but it was just going to be me and like two moms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, it's just me and two moms in this house. But going into it, I wasn't nervous because it was for my kids. You know what I mean? That was the first time I was like, oh, this is a situation where like I should be like nervous just to be like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of
Yeah.
introverted as well. So it's like I got to go into a situation where I'm meeting these two strangers, and we just have to sit in like awkward silence. But it was fine. I mean, they were cool, we were cool, and obviously no nerves. It was weird. I was like, oh, I should be nervous right now, but it was for my kid. And it's like anytime I have something that I have to do for my kid, I don't get that like the butterflies or like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I just got to do it. It's just got to be done.
Yeah, we had this thing called Kangaroo Club at Early Intervention on like the west side of Brockton. Um and it was a good little program. But that's what would happen on certain days, say it was from 3 to 3:45 or 4 to 4:45, whatever it was. It's like 45 minutes, and you're bringing your kid there, and they get to interact and do things with other kids, with teachers, and it helps them socialize and everything like that. Cole was just Cole was just diagnosed with autism around that time. So it was good for him to be around other kids and learn how to mingle and stuff like that.
Right.
But the thing is there were like 5 other kids, and the only people who brought the kids were like grandmothers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are the dads? Like, where are the moms? It
Right.
was it was literally just grandparents, and Brockton, so typically it's a lot of, it was like Cape Verdean or Haitian, and they didn't really speak that much English. So now I'm the only dad there. I want to talk to these parents and grandparents, like, hey, how's it going? And there was just such a language barrier at that point in time, that in that moment you're like, all right, I'm happy because Coco's here and we're having a good time, but I can't
Right.
talk to anybody.
Right.
And then there was this one time that this guy showed up. I'm like, hey, he's like, hey man. And I'm like, oh, you've been here before too? And it's like, yeah, there's no one, you can't talk to anybody,
Yeah.
and it got tough, man, because in that time frame of becoming a parent and getting your kid out there in the world, it's great to share those experiences with other parents.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
never thought that I would like be interested in that part. But yeah, you do meet people randomly and like, like our neighbors invited us. I was walking the dog a couple of years ago, and my neighbor saw me. He's like, "Hey, we're having a birthday party for our kids, and their kids are like the same age as our kids. They live right next door, so
Oh,
we've got
yeah.
like friends right next door now, and so it
Yeah,
just kind of happens. So
that is cool, man. No, it's big, man. Sometimes you don't think about it, where you're like, is my kid gonna be invited to birthday parties?
right,
Like, that becomes a thing as you start to get a little bit older, and your
right,
kids get older. We still have that issue. It's not really so much of an issue for us at this time, but yeah, where Cole doesn't really have that. He's minimally speaking, so he doesn't talk much. His
right,
classmates, it's like a sub-separate group, so all his classmates are autistic. Most of them don't like loud noises anyways, so you're probably
right,
not throwing a massive birthday party for 10 of the kids, you know?
right.
So it is kind of that, but he is around like his cousin who's 2 years older and kind of gets it. So it,
Yeah.
it definitely helps out in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. When we first had our oldest, we're like looking for any excuse to get her like social interaction. And this was like when COVID was going on and stuff.
Oh
So it
yeah.
was hard to, find places to interact. But now when we have two of them, you're like, we're not forcing interactions with the other one. We're like, she's fine. You know what I mean? They're together all the time. She's learning social cues from her sister. And
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's different when you raise one kid. You're a different parent when you raise the second one. It's
Y-
crazy. You're
Yeah.
like,
That's
you're
why
more experienced, obviously, but
that's why I'll always ask the dynamics because it changes from
yeah,
one kid, and your kids are close enough in age where, maybe your oldest has, it's weird to say this, has spent most of her life as a big sister,
right.
where it's not like she was 7, 8, 9 years old, then had a sibling and can really compare the good times of like, I remember when I was the only kid.
Right. Yeah, she was about, I think, what,
Yeah.
she must have been 2, 3. I can't remember how old she was when throws me off with like the difference. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's 5 and 3 now.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So
yeah,
however old, they're 2 years older.
you're going from that 2 to 3 age time frame, and then, little sisters coming into the scene.
Yeah. That was another like, the second child comes time, like, that chunk of time that you had that you're like, all right, I had this chunk, that chunk, then dwindles.
Yeah.
And so it just keeps. But the youngest is when she goes to school in the fall, I'll have some more time. And, I want to start doing more whatnot shows. I'll have more time to kind of hit it. Right now it's, she goes to school from 8:30 or 8:30 to 3 o'clock. And so it's just me and the younger one right now. But still,
Yeah.
I gotta play with her and do my workout and get all the stuff done that I want to get done. And so
Mhm.
we're in a little routine and just kind of the day just flies by. And I'm picking up the oldest one and back to it and then bedtime
Mhm.
and doing it all the next day.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It never stops.
Never
You
stops.
just gotta be fine with like never being able to rest, you know?
You just gotta be fine not eating, not sleeping.
Yeah, it'll be
Uh,
fine.
yeah,
So,
that
but
happens.
I love it.
No, it's the best part. The people who would see something differently about those comments are people that typically aren't parents. So,
Yeah,
don't let's tell you,
yeah,
once you become a parent, you understand what is,
yeah,
you understand what having no time is like.
yeah. Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
that's funny, man. And now for your wife, she helps out with the business, right? She
Just the
always
whatnot
pushes.
stuff.
Yeah.
She just helps with the whatnot, and yeah, I do pretty much everything else. I'd like to get her more involved. It's one of those situations where like, uh, I'd have to train her. You know what I mean? 'Cause she
Mhm.
works full
Yeah.
time. I'm not gonna be like, hey, on your off time, like, look up how to do this stuff if you want to work for me for no money at home. Like,
If you wanna listen to your husband vent.
yeah, if you want me to be your boss and not get paid for it, do some homework while while you're off from being a nurse. Um, so yeah, she helps just with like the moderation, and that's all she does is just like, tells me like keeps track of what's sold, and then that way, because the whatnot, we'll sell like 100 items in like an hour sometimes, and so it's just a
Wow.
lot going on.
Yeah.
So it's all volume. Um, so yeah, those are just,
Yeah.
I use all the help that I can get. So
Yeah, yeah. That's a lot of moving pieces.
yeah,
That's for sure. Do you have
so
a do you have a message or something that you like to leave for her? Maybe you tell her every
for
day,
my
maybe
wife,
yeah.
ah man, you put me on the spot. I know I've
Right?
looked at that question.
Well,
I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Um, I don't know, she's just awesome. She saw me fail at a few businesses and was like, yep, that's the one. That's the guy. So, she kind of took a chance on me when she probably shouldn't have. I was a bum. Uh, and so I'm just thankful that she took a chance on me, and we have a awesome life now. And the businesses I'm allowed, because of the fact that she took a chance, we're in a position where I think our business is going to take off in the next couple of years. And maybe she can start working a little bit less at her other job and help it out more with this business and, see where it goes.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean that's definitely the goal is to be able to provide that level of support. Um, it's big too to find someone that believes in you. It
Yeah,
really does because it can be tough out there too with that kind of pressure at times to be the person who's providing a lot of the support, throughout the house and to have someone who's willing to bet on you to figure things out as you're just going through some of these changes. And I
yeah,
know how you feel about that, about them like betting on you and kind of believing in you. That's the same thing with Kayla, what she had to do with me because when I was done with baseball, I didn't know what I was going to do.
right,
And she was there. She had to help me through all those tough times of not being a baseball player anymore and figuring out what I was going to do, man. I had no idea,
right. Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
by the time that you've been together for so long, too, you've just been through so much shit that, like, it's just,
Yeah, what seems like problems to other people, you build up that callus and you're like, that's not an issue.
yeah, yeah,
That's once every 3
yeah,
months.
right,
You know, that
yeah,
level can be a little bit different.
yeah. So yeah, I'm just lucky. I'm lucky,
Yeah, that's good, man.
very fortunate.
And for the people who wanna, like, follow your journey, right, where can they check you out, the stores? I'm gonna post things here as well so that we'll be able to have them. I'm gonna tag you and do all of that, but is there, like, locations that people can actually find you and follow you on social?
Yeah, so Perry Flips with a Z on Instagram. I took a couple weeks off just at the end of the year from posting stuff, but that's where I post like all the shows and then Whatnot every Wednesday on Whatnot. So Flips and Giggles is the Whatnot username. So if you follow us, you can see all our shows, and if you bookmark them, it'll let when we go live. But we go live every Wednesday at 8:30 with giveaways. And when we do different stuff, so we do, vintage t-shirts, stuffed animals, toys, whatever we can get in bulk, we do on Whatnot. And then eBay Flips and Giggles as well. And that's where you can buy, all the stuff that's in our eBay store. And then the podcast is roughly related to reselling. Every Wednesday, that one comes out as well. But again, 2 weeks off on that one. So there should be a new episode this week. And we're coming up on our 100th episode, my 100th episode. So I'm on like episode 91, 92, I can't remember. So it hurt to take the 2 weeks off, but I was like, I did a super sad one after my mom died. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take 2 weeks off and just, because right now there's not much going on. I was like, I'm going to just
Mhm.
sit there and like, not know what to talk about for 2 hours. So I took a couple weeks off from that, but it'll be back and you know, hopefully with video soon. And yeah, I think that's everything. I think
Yeah,
that's all my so yeah.
that'll be good. And yeah, I'm gonna tag it all in here too so that people can actually see it. Um,
Yeah, if you go
th-
to like the Instagram, it has the link tree and that has all the links on it. So that's the easiest way. It's just the
yeah.
in Perry Flips.
Yeah, I'll have to post the Linktree on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have that as well. Love it.
Yeah.
Just
It's
holds
awesome.
everything, man.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But dude,
So
hey, I want to thank you for being on tonight, man. I
yeah, I
appreciate it.
appreciate it. We almost went 2 hours. Damn, that was a long one. It was fun. It goes by quick when you're used to doing it by yourself.
Well, that's the thing. You have a couple questions kind of laid out for general topics, and then you find yourself talking about. And by the way, neither one of us were absolute high school football studs, but you find yourself talking about it for like 30 minutes because there's so many shared memories and things that are going on.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you about I couldn't combine all of my high school experiences together on football for 30 minutes,
right.
but talking to you, it's a little bit different. You can just kind of float back and forth on different situations, man.
Yeah, for sure. It was
So,
fun.
yeah, man.
Appreciate you having me on and
Dude,
all
absolutely,
that.
absolutely, man. But yeah, man, we'll be catching up soon. Thank you for being
All right,
on.
brother. Yeah, appreciate you having me later, man.